Hey everyone, Kiwi here. It's God, I think we're on day 40. Kiwi has been sick as a dog for the last 3 days. Uh, Contracted something, either on the trail or something I've touched in town or whatever, but had explosive projectile vomiting and diarrhea for about 6 hours on the first night, then diarrhea continuously for the next 2 days. So yeah, it hasn't been fun. It took me off the trail, completely off the trail. I've been holed up at Boots off hostel in Hampton, which there are worse places to be. I've got a really nice room. It's the nicest room I've been in since starting out on this journey, and I got a bathroom 2 feet away. So I had my first meal that I was able to actually eat this morning for breakfast, and I haven't had to poop yet. I'd say my intestines are so cleaned out I probably won't have to poop until I get to Damascus. So. But yeah, horrible, absolutely horrible. I've never been that sick before in my life. Yeah. Yeah, so I spent a night up at Roan. Is that Roan Knob shelter, which is the highest shelter on the AT. Yeah, that was a cold night. That was a very cold night. The winds up there are absolutely horrendous. And I got up to the shelter, and it has a front door. I'm like, oh, cool. It's like a fully enclosed little cabin. And it's like I opened the door and the door's locked. I'm like, oh my god, like is the thing out of commission? What's going on? But no, there was another hiker in there, and he was by himself, and he just felt like locking the door. But yeah, he was a really nice guy, Alfred, gentleman from Austria, and we had a good old chat, and yeah, man, but getting up that hill was a bit of an ordeal. It really is full summit after full summit after full summit, and at a lot of ice, because it's like the whole hilltop up there is just draining water off it, and those temperatures, and with the wind chill. Yeah, I mean, it was like dozens and dozens and dozens of meters of trail was just, 3 to 4 inches of solid ice. So that took a little bit of maneuvering to get around. Took a few falls. Nothing traumatic. It's just annoying, and ice isn't soft to land on. And then you're worried about continuing on down this icy slide, and then having to like navigate your way back up. But yeah, that was a cold morning when I left there. I think it was like 7 or 10 degrees. My shoes were frozen. God, my feet were so cold. But it's amazing that once you start walking, how quickly your feet warm up. It's really your hands that take the longest to get the blood flow into them. So, and again, I've been really happy with these Costco merino wool socks, man. They're holding out really well. I got one small little hole in one corner. I think it's just where it's just rubbing the shoe. But the bottoms of them, yeah, they're holding up really well. So yeah, I mean, consider it was like $19 for like 4 pairs of them. Can't go wrong. Yes, mountaintop balls. I don't understand them. I don't understand why the trail goes across these balls. I mean, yes, there's a view when you get up there, but it's hideous up there. Now, I know I'm in an early part of the year, but every when I watch videos, people going out in April, May, It's still just windy as hell. Windy as hell every time. Because there's nothing up there. There's nothing there to deflect the wind. And it's not like they're switchback or anything like that too. Because I mean, some of it, it is a fairly decent ascent, especially up was a Hump Mountain. I mean, you just walk in trail straight up. And again, it's a trail that's like this wide and muddy. Yeah, I don't get it. I also don't understand why people go up there to just hang out. I think it was at Max Patch. One of those ones. And I passed like several groups of people out there, and the light was starting to fade. And it was below 30. And there were like several groups spread out on this thing, just hanging out. There was a group of ladies like in their 60s. Just sitting out there under blankets. I don't know, waiting for the sun, waiting for a sunset. But it was an overcast day. I was like, what the hell are you doing out here? It's like 30 degrees and it's windy. And it had no redeeming features at all. I just don't get it. My shoes are still holding up pretty well. That's really the thing that's showing the most wear and tear of all my gear. And the outer inner corners, like that fabric is starting to deteriorate a little bit more and more. It looks like it's gotten to a point and it's kind of stayed at that point. But I'll include a still photo of them, just so people that are thinking of buying these shoes have some idea of their wear and tear, longevity. Because I think I'm about 400 plus miles in now. The soles on them are great. I mean, looking at the tread on these shoes, they haven't degraded at all. It's just it's just the fabric points on the outers. Yeah, I've been bumping into some section hikers on the trail, which is it's nice. Nice to have some human contact from time to time. Got to stay in a shelter with a nice young guy named Eric. And it's nice. It is nice to be able to have some conversation at the end of the day, especially when the temperatures are plummeting and you're just trying to get your food on. Because like I said, when you're by yourself, it's a very unemotional meal. It's just get it done and go to bed. But I met some nice people during the day as well. Alex and Laura, young couple, just doing a section hike. They stayed at the barn shelter, which I was looking forward to staying at, but just the timing wasn't right. I think I was going past there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something. So, but it is a really nice spot. Yeah, I didn't check the water at what was it, Clyde Smith. But there was an entry in the log there that said that the water source there is good. They also said it was just a long way away. But that's all relative, because I'm pretty sure the book said it was about 100 yards. Which to me isn't that terribly far. But the water at Clyde Smith appears to be good. Yeah, I've seen less mice at these shelters. There weren't any at Roan. It was probably too high. There'd all be little mousicles at those temperatures and with that ice. And Moreland Gap, which I think was one of the cinder block ones, that they didn't have any mice either. And they've just freshly painted that whole thing white. And they've got a graffiti board up there. And it's been just some people involved with the trail. It's something that they're trying to introduce so that people don't draw on the walls. I know there's some idiots out there just clean white wall to use my Sharpie on. But yeah, man, I mean, they're carrying paint up to these things to get rid of all this stupid writing on them. So, these are the people that build these things and maintain them, and they're taking the trouble to eradicate graffiti because it's offensive to them. And from their word, or from their mouths, um, it's vandalism. Just like how I say it's vandalism. That the people that build these things and maintain them, they consider it vandalism to be taking a Sharpie to them. And, it requires an extraordinary amount of effort to get supplies up to these places. And, I met a guy that was involved with building Mountain Air shelter, and they lug that lumber up there. I think he said like they had over like 100 volunteers. They can carry that lumber over a mile along those tracks. Now bear in mind that these tracks and places are like this wide, and very, very windy. And to be carrying 8-foot sections of 4x4, 6x4, and all the other siding over a mile to these places takes some dedication. And and they were dismayed at how fast that shelter got ruined with graffiti. So take it from the mouths of the people that build and maintain these things. Just respect them, respect the time and the effort that it takes to get these things built in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere, it's not a small undertaking. Yeah, I like that Mountain Air shelter. It seems to be something though they're incorporating more and more, like how they do them in Georgia with the covered porch at the front. So you have an elevated bench plus seating. It's all under cover, so that when it's raining or it's snowing, you've got a place to prepare your food. And it's one of those things that just makes complete obvious sense, but it's actually not that common once you leave Georgia. Yeah, coming to getting down to Hampton the last day. Water's not an issue. There's water everywhere. I bumped into 2 places that were in the book, and there was basically nothing in them. But I mean, you're passing water sources like every 10 to 20 minutes. So yeah, you don't need to worry too much about water. People were asking about my use of the word stealth camp. And just to clarify, I'm using the term stealth camp as anything that is not indicated in AWOL's book as either a shelter or a campsite. And I'm purely listening to these things as just a public service, because I mean, there have been times where I didn't continue on for the evening because I was under the impression there was nothing further on. And that's something that people need to understand about this book. It's just looking at the elevation, topography, gives you absolutely no indication on whether you're walking in an area that's 400 feet wide or it's 10 feet wide, surrounded by trees and rocks. So you have no idea of the flatness, the usability, the ability to pitch a tent. And so that's why I'm showing these stealth sites. Because I mean, basically, if you're in a hammock, assuming that you're not trying to do hammocking early on in the season, which I wouldn't do, but in a hammock, you're pretty sweet, man. You're pretty sweet, but pitching a tent, you've got to have the area to pitch a tent. So, yeah, I mean, the vast majority of people walking this trail have never walked any inch of it in their lives. They're not familiar with it. You know, I mean, you'll get locals doing section hikes and whatever else, and they're familiar with it. But, for me, I've never seen 1 inch of this thing before. So it would have been nice for me coming up if I'd had some indication that, I could take notes, as people have been doing with my videos and making annotations in their AWOL guide before they set out. So I'm glad that people are doing that. I'm glad they're finding the information useful. And yes, I understand the true meaning of a stealth camp. But yeah, again, it's just to indicate stuff that's not indicated in the book. Someone was asking if I'm surprised at how often I'm staying in shelters. And yes and no. At the outset, I wasn't planning to. But one factor that became really dominant from the get-go, leaving at the end of January, were the winds. The winds. So there's no leaves on the trees. So the winds are really, really strong a lot of the time. And there's so many branches being torn off these things. And although I'm not losing any sleep at night thinking about a human-sized branch landing on my tent and either killing me or pinning me under it, and causing bodily damage. Just having moderate-sized branches landing on the tent, damaging my structural poles. That's the issue. And because once those poles are damaged, the tent's unusable. And then that completely changes my my priorities for my hiking, because now I absolutely have to go from shelter to shelter. So when I was up at I think it was Cherry Gap. Pretty sure it was Cherry Gap. I was going to put my tent up there. And, I actually did put my tent up. And I was preparing dinner back at the table at the shelter, out of the wind. And a big-ass branch fell very, very close to my tent. So I just packed it up and went in the shelter, because it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to have, which in these temperatures and conditions is essentially an emergency shelter, unusable. So if a branch is going to fall, I'd rather fall on a significantly stronger shelter roof. And and again, I mean, I've got these places to myself, so I have that option. Now if winds weren't an issue, yeah, I'd be in my tent more and more, assuming that the ground is not a mud pit, or the ground isn't, sloped like this. It is very hard to sleep in a tent on a slope like that. You constantly rearrange yourself during the night because you're all squished into one, because you're just sliding. So, and it's amazing how very, very few level places there are around these shelters to pitch a tent. But yeah, that's really the main reason. Part of the other reason too is I've been dealing with a lot of freezing temperatures, and there's something to be said for not having to pack up your tent in 7-degree weather when your poles are frozen together. That adds a lot of time to your morning, and 10, 15 minutes of being outside of your sleeping bag at those temperatures, you're already losing all the feeling in your extremities. So, although it's warmer to be in your tent, it's a hell of a lot faster packing up in the morning, getting out of the shower, and actually getting moving to stay warm if you don't have to pack up your tent, and assuming that nothing's frozen together. So yeah, that's been another factor. It's just the quickness of being able to get going in the morning. Because there have been mornings too where the poles aren't frozen together, but there's frozen rain, like ice all over the tent, and you want to try and get that off. It's just a hassle. Yeah, people were liking my prime rib steak for breakfast. Yes, that did go down a treat. There's something to be said for having some red meat in the morning. Because it does give you that prolonged energy. And yeah, I think I put a little bit of Cajun seasoning, a little bit of Old Bay on it just to give it a little bit more salt. Followed by a Rice Krispie cake. So yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, someone make sure those cinder block shelters don't look particularly nice. It's not something that they're continuing to do anymore, because they don't really go with the forest. But what I will say is that they are significantly less prone to mice being able to climb up them. So there's that benefit. But yeah, they're definitely not as attractive looking as timber. Plus, I mean, you're kind of limited where you can build those things anyway, because I mean, you've got to carry in a cinder block. So I don't think it was ever something that was going to be a wide scale thing. I think they just tried it out in a few places, and yeah, they're definitely going with a more natural look with the shelters, which I'm fine with. But it is nice to have fewer mice and fewer mouse droppings. Especially now after I've been sick, you just start to wonder, like, where exactly did I contract? Whatever it is I got. Yeah, Watauga Shelter by the lake, by Hampton, Tennessee. The 2016 book says that it's reopened after a couple of years of being closed due to bear activity. And there are a few stories going around of why. I mean, I was told that. So some hikers were up there, and they hung a bear bag, but they brought all their snacks into the tent with them. So there was a bear there, and he couldn't get to the bear bag. So I was like, well, fine, I'll go into the tent and find out what these delicious smells are all about. Apparently, another part of the reason is that you've got local, idiots go into these really easily accessible shelters and, hanging out, partying, drinking, leaving trash everywhere. And of course, those smells are drawing the bears in. So what I was told, even though the book says that it's open, it's still actually closed to being able to stop and eat there, and you can't stay overnight there. So that's something to consider with your with your planning coming through. Yeah, it's a weird thing with YouTube when people comment on these videos, and I'll get a message sent through to my Gmail account first. That's the first place it comes. So so and so has commented on your video, and so I'll choose to reply from that link, and it takes me back to the video. But then their comment's not there. So there's quite a sizable delay. So if I don't respond in a timely fashion, don't take it personally, because sometimes it's a few hours, sometimes it's a day. And if it's a day when I'm heading back out on the trail, then I'm not going to be able to respond until I get to the next town. And And it's weird too, like people have sent me personal messages, just some helpful advice on stuff and this and that and the other. And when I've replied to these personal messages, every single one that is said is undeliverable. So I don't know what the deal is about that. Someone contacted me about being spotlighted or highlighted on his channel as a hiker for 2017. And I replied as soon as I could to the affirmative if he's watching. That I'd be more than happy to. After I finish the hike. And I know other people have offered advice on looking after my body and this, that, and the other. And 100% of the time, every time I've tried to respond, it says that the message is undeliverable. So I don't know what it is. It's some sort of a weird thing with YouTube or whatnot. But if you've sent me a personal message, I've responded to you. It's just YouTube's not sending it. So. Yeah, man, you got to take the weather conditions as they come. When I was at Cherry Garden, there was no snow in that forecast at all. It was supposed to be like in the mid-50s that day. And I woke up in the show because I was at that cinder block one. I'm like, man, it's cold. I turned on my headlamp. I'm like, there's all this stuff on my sleeping bag. And because there's gaps in the wall before it hits the ceiling where they couldn't fit a full-size cinder block, so there's just nothing there. So the snow was just blowing in. Because the winds were strong and the snow was going sideways. And so my sleep bag and the platform were somewhat covered with snow particles. And I was like, that would explain it. I had my first 20-mile plus day. It was 21 and a half. Forgetting the section that it was. But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It's weird, man. You're eating the same food pretty much on a regular basis on the trail. With some minor fluctuations. I mean, I've found that I've had to carry more beef jerky. Because like I said, I can't eat that much sweet food, and that's just fast carbs anyway. I mean, you're burning that up in like 30 to 40 minutes. But I needed something with more sustained energy release. So I was buying beef jerky, like real jerky, not Slim Jims. Although I did buy one small thing of Slim Jims, but they were hideous. So I'm buying real beef jerky. And I was splitting a bag between 2 days. And I found that I was doing better, but I've moved to eating a bag a day. And that seems to be working out for me. Now, that being said, I still had a day where it's all the same stuff. But my energy just absolutely plummeted. Now, whether there was the build-up to this hideous sickness or not, it may have been. Whatever I've contracted that's been incubating angrily inside my intestines may have been affecting that, because it would have been eating all the nutrients out of what I was eating, which does, obviously that leads to fatigue. So, but that was hideous. Today's the first day I feel somewhat normal. I would say about 70%. My voice is still there, but I'm looking forward to getting on the trail tomorrow. We've got some dodgy weather forecast over the next 3 days. Temperatures are dropping down again at night, but nothing I haven't dealt with before. What I'm not too happy about is sleet. Sleet gets you cold really, really fast. Snow, if it's dry snow, you know, it just falls off your clothing anyway. But sleet's a different matter altogether. So, if you were doing around 22 miles a day, you'd hit Damascus in 2 days. I don't think I'm going to be doing 20 to 22 miles a day after this illness. So it's going to take me about 3 days to get there. And I'm about 4 videos behind in my ability to upload. So I'll try and find a place there that I can upload them. And try to keep you all up to date. It's frustrating here. Boots Off Hostel is a really nice place. Good bunch of guys. They're really trying to do the right thing, and it's an ongoing process and a work in process. But it's one of these small town places where if you don't know the right people, or someone's got a stranglehold on a particular market. Yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's one of those things. Like, they were trying to get cable because they're on DSL. That was the best they could do. And there's no cable too, because it's like a private home that they're turning into a hostel. And they were going to be charged an insane amount. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but it was an insane amount of money by like the one guy that has the contract with Comcast to dig a trench. And basically you could buy a car for this kind of money to run it up. I think it's like 300 or 400 feet up the hill. And yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, that's why small town places that are poor stay poor, because people don't have a big picture community view on things. It's just, I've got this and I'm going to protect it, and I'm going to become incredibly territorial about it. And if you want to use my stuff, then you just have to deal. And it's something I've seen in multiple areas within the United States when you get into small places where people are successful despite themselves, and they don't really want people coming in with good ideas or bigger ideas, because they don't have any sense of community. They just have a sense of, well, I'm going to lose percentage. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for guys like this who are trying to get a good business going. But yeah, the hostel here, it's they've got a bunk room. I think they've got 7 bunks in it. It's kind of like in a tiny house. Oh, I haven't been into it because there's been people in it. I don't impose myself in situations like that. But you can see the room here. It's a lovely beadboard wood panelled room with an extremely comfortable king-size bed. It's got a semi-private bathroom that the outside hikers who are staying in the bunkhouse don't typically have access to, unless the temperatures are really cold and they're like, yeah, all right, you can come and use the inside bathroom. But yeah, they got a shower out there and a privy and all that good stuff. He's got tenting here, and yeah, they're building a deck. They're doing good things. They're just struggling to reach a common ground with people that control strings in the area. So yeah, again, small town. I think that's it, man. I'm heading out tomorrow. I'm eating as much food. I had my first meal this morning. First time I've eaten in 2 days. I've been camped out in this bed for 2 days. It hasn't been fun. I think I've lost well over 5 pounds since I've been here. Uh, this lighting is actually very flattering at the moment. I'm actually very gaunt at the moment, but yeah, no, it's been a good place. It was the perfect place for me to be sick in, basically. Um, but yeah, heading out to Damascus tomorrow, keeping an eye on the weather. The guys here were saying, just take forecasts with a grain of salt because you're in the mountains and everything changes all the time. So, but yep, get to Damascus, find a place that has Wi-Fi. When I was looking at the book, a lot of the hostels and that don't have Wi-Fi. So, you know, I have to start getting stuff off my phone because I'll get so backed up I won't be able to take any footage, and that's kind of important to me for my own memories, and also to share with friends and family and my subscribers. So wish me luck, and that I can find a place with Wi-Fi that doesn't take 20 hours on a DSL line to upload 30-minute video. So yeah, that's Kiwi out. Bye for now, and I'll see you on the trail tomorrow on my way to Damascus.